There seems to be a lesson that most men today are not learning until it's far too late. But I want to go ahead and introduce you to that concept here now tonight. If a man doesn't work for the money that he gets, then it's going to destroy him. Case in point is now Marcus Jordan. For those of you who may not have heard of that or been aware of it here, breaking news, Marcus Jordan, Michael Jordan, NBA great Michael Jordan's son, has been spotted overseas because the cameras are going to follow you everywhere. And it appears that he was sniffing a white substance. What? So, of course, folks want to protect themselves. They're just saying sniffing a white substance here. I want to take you through the article. It says that there are pictures to show that Michael Jordan's son, stationed at an outdoor table, seemingly snorting an unknown white substance. Let me go ahead and throw the picture up here on the screen for you here so you can take a look at it for yourselves and you can tell us what it is that you think might be going on there. You can take a look at it for yourselves, and don't worry, we'll put this in the 720 degrees of analysis you'll receive absolutely nowhere else. So there's Marcus Jordan. The article goes on to say that at the time of this article, there has been no official identification of the substance. Jordan's new girlfriend. Auntie, chill. Jordan's new girlfriend, Ashley Stevenson, could be seen laughing beside him in the French location. Naturally, social media had something to say about the mysterious white substance. So it goes on there, but I'm showing you the pictures so you all can take a look at that for yourselves. They go on to say that, as previously noted, Marcus does appear with his new boo, Ashley, in the photos, and it looks like he has moved on from his former flame, Larsa Pippen, you think. 1 year after becoming an official couple on Instagram, Pippen and Jordan first broke up in February. The duo attempted to take another shot at love and reconciled on Valentine's Day. However, they ended up going straight to Splitsville. So, yeah, there's that. Somebody said he probably has sinus issues. All right, well, if he doesn't have sinus issues, he will be having them. By the time this is over, he will be getting them. So if he doesn't have sinus issues, he will be encountering sinus issues at the end of this vacation. But there are some lessons to be learned here. There are some actually acute lessons to be learned. And I want to go over that with you here. As we all know, it's not hard. Nobody is shocked to see this. So let's start from the beginning here. First of all, Marcus Jordan is the quintessential example of what happens when you're given too much too soon and you didn't have to earn any of it. Very clearly, his father has decided, well, this is the only son. I don't think that's his only son, but it's the only son that he can give something to or whatever. So they're doing a Tony Khan with Shad Khan, giving him his inheritance now, I guess. Give his son the inheritance now, and I suppose you're hoping that he's going to grow out of all this and mature. He certainly doesn't have a sports career in front of him. And this is what happens when you give somebody something they're not ready for. Marcus Jordan has not had to struggle. Marcus Jordan, instead of making his life easier, you should be requiring him to overcome this. Instead of trying to give him a leg up and making his life easier for him, instead his father should be allowing him to get some knocks and cuts and bruises. He might not be able to become a great NBA player, but maybe he could become a great man if you actually require him to go through these difficult times and prove that he's made of what's necessary to overcome it. And if he's not, then the difficult times will drown him, and maybe that will force him to do so. But handing him a blank check and letting him ball out around the world, as you can see, it's not going very well. Now, let's go ahead and deal with another reason why you cannot do things like this. It is very obvious that Marcus Jordan has a type. It's very obvious that Marcus Jordan has a type. Apparently he likes them blonde and fake. And I'm not hurling invectives here when I say this. His girlfriend there, Ashley Stevenson, Miss It's Ashley Stevenson. Yeah, he's certainly got a type when it comes to her. Not surprising. If you go take a trip by her Instagram, by the way, if you go take a trip by her Instagram, and let me go ahead and throw that up on your screen so that you all can go ahead and get the look at it there. It'll all start to look very familiar very soon. This is his girlfriend. This is her Instagram. This is the way she used to be looking back in 2023. This is the way she used to look. She's holding her hand up to her forehead. I'm not basing on nobody. I'm just going to say she's holding her hand up to her forehead. Yeah, for a reason. Oh, do you see that noggin? No insult, ma'am. I'm not dissing, but by the way, yeah, in her other pictures when she's holding her hand over her forehead, I'm like, okay, she is trying to conceal the evidence very clearly. She's fresh back from Dr. Miami. Nothing on here is proportional. Nothing looks right. Nothing is where it needs to be. You take a look at those legs and you take a look at the work that's been done. So very clearly, yeah, she skipped leg day. That's for certain. And that should look familiar because, by the way, remember Larsa Pippen? Damn! Well, this old girl looks like she could be Larsa Pippen's daughter based on, if nothing more than the hair coloring and the plastic surgery. Yeah, this old girl could be Larsa Pippen's daughter. So very clearly, she knew what she was going for. She knew what she was after. She's not going to pay for any more surgeries herself. She's like, look, I got to get somebody else to pay for this because I'm not going to do any of the rest of this stuff here. So I need a sugar daddy. Even if he's dumb as hell, he needs to go ahead and pay for this because I ain't doing it. So used to be a brunette. All that's changed. Used to be a brunette, but as you can see, yeah, all of that's changing. All that's changing. And I can understand why she would have a few issues about that because, like I say, things are going to be tough in that regard. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. She said, face pretty, soul prettier. Okay. She's got 6,000 followers on Instagram. So she got her little strugglegram going up there. I'm not dissing her or anything like that. I'm just saying, by the way, couldn't help but notice. Couldn't help but notice. And she doesn't intend on paying for a lick more surgery on her own, so she wants somebody else to go ahead and take care of these things for her, and I guess clearly she is on her way, or at least she believes she is. She's got comments for that. Including some creepy stuff in there. I'll let you go check into it on your own, but that's not the only other thing here. Yeah, Marcus does have a type. He very clearly does. But another thing that doesn't help when people are self-destructing, when you're enabling them to do so, let me tell you about something else that doesn't help. This is from the Instagram. This is from Twitter. From Video Mixtape, which was linked to from the Vibe story. And take a look at the comments section. If you want to know why it is that so many of these people gleefully train wreck their lives, why it is they're younger and they can't recover, if you want to know the reason why, take a look at this comments section. Take a look at what they're saying. Zzz, I guess it would be snoring. Rich kid who never really worked, snorting coke with a chick that would never be seen with him unless he was MJ's kid. Snoring. This isn't something to snore at, dummy. Take a look at this heifer here. Damn, I miss life before social media. People minding their business is slim to none these days. I would hate to be famous. Now, this should be particularly offensive. Should be particularly offensive. But just understand the world is crawling with vermin. Like this Tamara Monet. You go over to her page, and as you can see, she is for sale. Gotta be careful I don't show anything I can get in trouble for here on YouTube. But by the way, as you can see, she is for sale. So yeah, she's like, hey girl, get your money because I wish I was there. Her only reason she's saying this is because she wished she had beat you to him. She's only now, if you're telling me he only likes white girls, she'd probably get upset. But then she probably tells herself, well, if I was alone with me, that would change. Actually, no, it wouldn't. Actually, no, it wouldn't. You can be many things. You cannot be a European blonde. So that will not be going. That will not be happening. So just, yeah, give up that one. Give up that one. There are lessons to be learned out here, and I want to go down the list here. By the way, let me go ahead and go back to this Miss Tamara Monet here. I want to show you all a few things, and there are lessons to be learned, which is why you should not give somebody power and abilities before they're ready for them. You go to her Twitter page. As you can see, I'll be in New York in early September. Get in touch to arrange a date. To arrange a date. A new gift. Do you like it? 406 likes. 18,000 followers. 406 likes. Okay. When he insists on taking a picture of you. Morning sex when you're both still half asleep. You know you're a loser of a female if you are talking about your sex life online. What? I mean, nothing says I'm a loser female than doing that. Nothing says I'm a hoe than like doing that. The Fat Duck was an experience to remember. Loved their play on the senses. 10 out of 10. So, fellas, yeah, you can tell she's not used to anything. Not used to anything and looking for somebody to finance it. Not used to anything and looking for somebody to finance it, even if she got to hustle them draws. Even if she got to hustle them draws. And, well, now, doesn't that sound familiar? Well, as a matter of fact, it does. As a matter of fact, Marcus there has been frequenting. He's been frequenting that. You see, fellas, when you're an easy mark, you start attracting all kinds of flies. When you're an easy mark. Easy marks have people who sit up here and scheme on them. Easy marks attract people who don't add anything. They only came to see what they could take. And then you have folks sitting up here acting as if they're cheering you on, like they really support you. And in reality, they're just like, damn, when's it going to be my turn to fleece this sucker? When's it going to be my turn? There are some lessons for individuals to learn from this also. Some of you have children. Some of you have children and you're hoping that they'll be your heirs. Well, this is the kind of thing that can happen when you don't allow your heirs to get some hard knocks, when you don't force or require your heirs to earn it, when you don't want to listen to your children cry when they go through discomfort, and then you are such a deficient individual that you rush in to alleviate any discomfort they might experience. You see, what builds real men is our ability to experience discomfort and then to overcome it. I shouldn't even just say real men. I should say adults. adults are measured by our ability to enter discomfort, especially if it is discomfort in the pursuit of a goal. When you're pursuing a goal, discomfort is a given. Hardship is a given. Difficulty is a given. And what builds you into a person who can achieve goals is becoming a person who can overcome obstacles. That forces you to innovate. It forces you to become a different type of person. But you see, when people rush in and say, no, you shouldn't be experiencing any discomfort, then you become a person addicted to fragility. You become incapable of dealing with any discomfort whatsoever. And what happens is you don't build grown men, you build grown babies. When you take an adolescent and treat them like a toddler, the only thing that's going to happen is that when they become a man, they're going to act like an adolescent. Marcus Jordan has been prevented from experiencing any difficulty or hardship in his life. And as a result, now as a grown man, as you can see, he's now resorting to escapism. He's so determined to escape any type of hardship that he's now moved on to the next step. Hey, let's go ahead and snort it up. This is what happens when you attempt to coddle your children, because you are so weak of heart and intellect and ability. You don't actually have the ability to raise anything like a competent person, to mentor a competent person. So you treat grown people and adolescents like babies in a futile and pathetic attempt to prevent yourself from having to actually become a real parent. And now this is what you've done to your legacy. Marcus Jordan is not a little kid either. It'd be different if he were 16 years old. That's not the case. We've already covered this before. That's not the case. He's not a little child diddy bopping around here just figuring out what in the world is. He's a 33-year-old grown man who has all these connections and opportunities put in front of him, but he's not turning a Shane McMahon. He's sitting up here acting as if he's got abilities he doesn't have. Let me tell you something. You're supposed to earn the right and the ability to go to France and do some lines. What? I mean, it'd be different if you were at least Charlie Sheen. This fella, like my man TK Kirkland said, this nigga trying to act like he got his life together or something. You take a look at him and you swear he got his life all the way together. Dude, you supposed to stack up 20, 30 million before you take your ass to the French Riviera and start doing some lines. You're supposed to get yourself together before you try doing something like this. You acting like you done got some wins under your belt. Like you've conquered some mountains. Like you've really done some big stuff and now you taking some downtime. Nigga, your whole life has been downtime. That's why you're sponging off your dad and don't have any accomplishments of your own. That's why you have to sit up here and hang out with pathetic Instagram plastic thoughts. One after another. That's how you end up here. Because your father had to come out to Carolinas and get it out the mud and make it happen. His son has never had to go through the boot camp and the manhood training and the rites of passage. He never required his son to go through that. He never required his son to have to go through those difficulties. He never required his son to see that you really will have to do without. He never required that. Now you have a son who's incapable of producing it. To make matters worse, do you see that group of absolutely disgusting vultures that he has around him? Do you see them? Do you see that group of despicable, disgusting individuals that he's got sitting around him? Want y'all to understand something. This picture right here, the one on your screen right now, this picture right here says everything. This picture right here says it all. Take a look at the three people he's sitting with, and then take a look at him. Damn! Only one person is at the table doing any blow. Only one person is at the table doing any type of narcotic. Everybody else is sitting there with their cell phones. Everybody else is sitting there getting lit. Everybody else is falling back. They sitting up there munching on melon and whatever else. Everybody else is doing their thing. Only one person, the richest, most prestigious person at the table, or at least the person with the most access to money, that's the only one getting thrown off their game. Everybody else is sitting there looking at their phones, pretending that they are partaking in what he's doing. Y'all remember Andrew Gillum? What? Oh, I'm going there. Y'all remember Andrew Gillum? Y'all remember how that went? Andrew Gillum got into a room full of white men. Oh, I'm saying it. He got into a room full of white men. Oh, we all doing drugs. Yeah, but when it was over, when the camera started rolling and the pictures started coming out, well, there was only one person that got plastered all over the tabloids. Remember that? What? There was only one. Andrew Gillum was in a room full of white men, but when it got time to put somebody on Front Street, Andrew was the only one who got tossed out there on Front Street. His white friends tiptoed on out the door. Now you have a black male sitting here with two white women and one white man, but two white women, you know where his mind is. He's not on his game. And he is oblivious to the fact that, by the way, dude, you're the only one out here in the middle of the damn table doing nothing. Don't you see that them fell back? They don't have a picture of four people doing lines. They don't have a picture of four people snorting nothing. You got a picture of four people at a table, yeah, but only one of them doing anything. You think that's accidental? Of course, his little cornball naive ass does. What this tells you is that after all those decades in professional sports, Michael Jordan hadn't even put his son up on the basic game of how to avoid getting played like a sucker like this. His father hasn't even put him up on the very most basic, rudimentary, fundamental things about when you went somewhere with some females. His father hasn't even taught him the basics. Not put this at the feet of his father. Because he's out here clout chasing and attention chasing. Juanita wasn't doing all that. This is your son, Michael. This is your son with none of the discipline, none of the training, none of the preparation, none of the game, none of the mentoring. You wouldn't have third string bench rookies in the NBA doing this. There your son is, plastered in front of the world. When a man does not earn the money he's spending, it will destroy him. If you give somebody unearned money, but particularly men, I'm talking to the men tonight. If you give a man unearned money he didn't have to work for, money he didn't have to go through the hardship and the adversity and the difficulties to earn so that he knows how he got it. When a man doesn't have to earn it, it will destroy him. If you all agree that I'm telling the truth here tonight, give me the bomb emoji in the chat room and hit the likes button for me. It's 2,000 people in here live right now. But if you all agree that if a man doesn't earn it, if it's unearned money, then it will destroy him. If you agree with me, give me the bomb emoji in the chat room and hit the likes button for me. And if the likes don't come up, that's perfectly fine. We can go ahead and end it early. This is something I wanted to speak about here in particular because you see so many men today. There are so many men today who are devoid of any real talent, any real abilities, anything that's really attractive. So you see what happens is they resort to money. They resort to money. They start throwing money around because that's the resort of a man who knows he doesn't actually have anything worth getting in himself. He's checked his own temperature. He's checked his own chest of inventory, and there's nothing in there. You see, if Marcus Jordan was able, and by the way, for those of us who listen to his podcast, he's not, no offense, Marcus. No offense. Marcus is not particularly smart. By that, I mean he's not especially smart, especially intelligent. He's not a brainiac. He's not especially academically accomplished. He is not an expert at anything. He's very shallow in his thinking. He's not a deep thinker. He's not somebody who can teach you anything you want to know. He can't mentor you. He's a 33-year-old, 10-year-old. And so now he's out here stumbling and bumbling his way to the world with people who can see how shallow and incapable he actually is. That's why Larsa Pippen thought he was going to be easy pickings if his father hadn't stepped in. Okay, well, now he's hanging around out here on his own. And what do you know? He found a younger version of Larsa who is so obviously doing the exact same thing that Larsa was doing, that Larsa was trying to get in position to do. Only this chick right here said, yeah, you know what? Damn all that. Larsa Pippen got Scotty. Tell that heifer get her own Negro. I done found this stray wandering around out here. I'm going to get him however I got to get him. And what do you know she done did like all the others? Black men, it's the 21st century. It's too damn late in the day and too damn far in the game for you to be sitting in a room full of white girls with them handing you some drugs of any kind. You should be the most sober person in the room. Let me explain to you how they get broke down. Let me go ahead and invite some specters into the room. Think about this for a few moments, y'all. Now, here you got Marcus Jordan. Marcus Jordan is on his way to damn me Diddyville. What? I said it. Marcus is on his way to Diddyville. You know why? Because he's got scandalous females sitting around him who will sit here and watch him engage in illegal activities, things that will blunt his thinking, blunt his judgment, and they out to get a bag. So they getting you high because when you high, you free spending. How much y'all want to bet that he's the one treating everybody? 4 people at the table in France. How much y'all want to bet that he's the one treating folk? This is his gift. Do you think his girlfriend is paying for any of this? And do you think the other chick there is paying for any of this? You think she doing it? And is the white dude dressed to throw no money? Okay. So they there to get you high because they know that loosens up them pockets. He's not even going to remember how much you spent. How much you all to is he even going to remember how much he spent? That's the first thing. That's bad enough. Here's the second one. The second one is if Marcus don't drop the bag the way they want him to, if the day comes that Marcus don't drop the bag or he starts looking in another direction and starts to let old bleach blonde plastic breasts, let her know that she getting ready to get traded in for a new model, don't y'all know the first thing she gonna do is yell, the nigga beat me? Damn! Oh, he gets high on drugs. He gets high on drugs. I was telling him don't do that. I was telling him don't do that, but he had problems. He had habits. So we were in London. We had taken a trip to London. And I was trapped.
Nigga, please.
Yes, we were at the hotel and he was abusing me. He was trafficking me. He brought 2 of his ex-NBA friends with him, and they were making me do things I didn't want to do. And I felt trapped. I couldn't leave the hotel room. I was just trapped. I mean, yes, I did leave the hotel to go down to the restaurant, but he told me he owned me. He told me that I belonged to him, so you see, I was intimidated. I was intimidated, and there was nothing I could do. So I had to go back to the room with him in London and Paris and Monaco and Cancun and the Bahamas and Switzerland. I had to go to all those places with him and spend his money. Folks, go read Cassie's lawsuit against Diddy and all the other Diddy hoes. They all say the same damn thing. And then you have some bonehead niggas in here. That's right. Cassie was a victim. Well, okay. Well, next in line. Next in line. So if Marcus decides to trade her in for a new model, he's at ground zero. But Jason, don't say it. But Jason, I'm telling you, don't say it. Let me talk. Let me talk. He don't never let us talk. If he let us speak. You scared me to say this? Go ahead and say it, old Daffy Duck nigga. Name calling's all you do. In any case, if Marcus just records things and get out the game clean, fellas, you can't get out the game clean anymore. They let Cassie come back after damn me a decade. They letting her bring up stuff from 10, 15 years ago. Bill Cosby even further back than that. There is no getting out the game clean. What you talking about? Y'all think that Jonathan Major's problem was that he broke out running that night? Do you think that night was the issue? Hell no! Any one of these scandalous scallywags can jump up and claim something from a decade ago. So in other words, take a look at Tiger Woods, his girlfriend. That's why I covered that story extensively. You are in a day and age today where if you are a man and you the bag, dude, you don't even have to get married. This is not about marriage, man. The rule book is out the damn window. Get some critical thinking skills and some deductive reasoning here and some brain cells that can remember something beyond 2 minutes. The rule book is out the window. You don't have to marry them. You don't have to sign anything. They can just be your girlfriend. You don't have to move them into where you live. All the red pill advice doesn't really apply. I mean, some things will keep you in less danger than others. Don't get me wrong. Some stuff gets you in real trouble. I mean, don't get them pregnant. Don't marry them. Avoid moving in with them. But don't let anybody tell you that you scot-free. Marcus Jordan is going to be behind the 8 ball for at least a decade. If this little gal or her little friend at the table, because either one of them can say it, if this little gal or her friend at the table jumps up and claims you did something, or she just start dragging your damn name, bro, what you gonna say? See, here's where Cassie figured she had Diddy over a barrel. Cassie had access to that video of Diddy dragging her in that hallway. And she was like, I can't prove anything else. And most of what I'm saying looks pretty damn suspicious and pretty damn bogus to begin with. But I do have one video. And everything else will be substantiated off of that. Y'all, this is the one video right here from Marcus. This is his one. Oh, girl is going to be like, nigga, from here on in. From here on in. I got you on a leash. You ever try to break up with me? You ever try to send me back to them Orlando streets? Her Instagram says she from Orlando. Them Florida gals. I mean, he walked right into that one. So when I said Dr. Miami, I wasn't kidding. Somebody in the chat room said, why come he couldn't do his drugs in a private location? He couldn't do it in private, don't you? Let me show you why he couldn't do his drugs in peace in a private location. Let me show you why he couldn't do it. This is why he couldn't do it. Right there. That's the reason he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. That's the reason right there on your screen. That's the reason he couldn't do it. Right there. When you raise weak sons, they are very easily dominated. When they don't have anything else to offer, sexual power is the only thing that they think is real power. So that's the reason. You want to know why he couldn't do it? This is why. This is why. He doesn't care that they're plastic. He's overlooking the forehead. He doesn't care about the Botox lips, the crazy ass wicker broom eyelashes. Oh, this nose job. Oh, this nose job is criminal. Y'all see this nose job? This is a criminal nose job. Either that or she's been back for so many. But you want to know why it is that he couldn't do the drugs behind closed doors? This is the reason why. Bogus BBL and every damn thing. This is the reason why. This is why. He doesn't really have anything to offer, so he grabs whatever in the hell will take him, and he just got to get it how he lives. And because he isn't really accomplished at anything else, he ends up being in a situation where whatever them gals will offer him, he gonna take it. He's easily dominated. That's the issue. So when them gals tell him, come on out here, we going to lunch. And when they tell him, show, go ahead and do your lines right here, nobody's watching, he'll do whatever these broads tell him. As I said, you already saw that happen with Larsa Pippen. He was getting ready to marry her, remember? He wasn't just going to date Larsa. He saw what she was. He saw her age. He saw her reputation. He saw what she did to Scottie Pippen. And he was sitting right there. Nah, I think you white material. So he's already shown you why he would do this. These females are his confidence. What? These females are his confidence. He doesn't have any confidence of his own. Keeping these females around him, even if they're bogus, it gives him the feeling of being a winner. It gives him the feeling of accomplishment, that he's getting the benefits of it, even if he hasn't earned it. A man can't live without respect. A man can't live without respect. And he has been unable to earn it. But he still needs it. So he keeps around him phony, fake individuals, opportunists, who are just as flagrant and phony as possible. But that's the best he can do. So when they tell him, "Show, you can do your drugs out here on the table," when they tell him that, he goes for it. It's not that he's not questioning his own judgment. He's not questioning theirs. He isn't questioning their judgment. There are many men like that. There are many men like that. Russell Wilson comes to mind. Damn! There are many men out there, because they have not been required to earn these things. They're not prepared for it. They get it too quickly. They get it too soon. They have no understanding or appreciation for it. They didn't have to build it. They don't know how to maintain it. And that leaves them being a prime target of somebody who can see the emotional weaknesses in you. And now that they can see that, they know how to take advantage of it. Here's the real issue. Marcus is probably telling himself that he's in charge. Marcus is probably telling himself that because these people around him are, quote unquote, financially and socially dependent on him, that he's running things. That's what he's probably telling himself, is that he's running things because, well, these folks are socially and emotionally dependent, financially dependent on him. That if he doesn't open up his father's bank account, big things don't happen. And what he doesn't see is that he's not playing the game is playing him. Now, I bring this up because there are a bunch of you men who are listening to me right now, and you're in a similar position. You're just not Marcus Jordan. You're just not Russell Wilson. But a lot of you fellas listening to me right now, you're in a similar position. You see, tonight's program is about men who their money doesn't mean anything to them. The great danger that you run into is that if you become a man for whom your money doesn't mean anything. Let me explain something to you. Money is what a man produces for his years of toil and sacrifice and work. You're not supposed to see dollars. You're supposed to see the end results of the work and effort you put in this life. When your money that you have earned means nothing to you, then that means that your work and labor and sacrifices mean nothing to you. Well, that just leaves you a sitting duck for some opportunistic female or exploitative males who see that you don't actually really value what you have. And when other people see that you don't actually see the real value of what you have, that you value something else, now they're going to step in and take control of that. Now they're going to step in and take control of it. Marcus is 33 years old. 33 years old. Did he get the supply from the folks at the table? I don't know. But what I will tell you is that with all the access to capital, all the access to connections, he should be doing better than this, but he can't do better than this because Marcus Jordan has never had to struggle. A man becomes weak as soon as he has to stop struggling. When a man is not meeting adversity and overcoming it, challenging himself, when he doesn't put standards and requirements on himself, he starts looking for leisure. And a man who starts seeking leisure starts getting lazy. It's not enough to have leisure. Now he starts becoming lazy. A lot of you fellas listening to me right now, some of you got settlements, some of you got pensions, some of you got trust funds. I got folk in here like that. Some of you got things like that. And I'm warning you, please understand that, by the way, you're in the most danger of anybody here. You've got unearned money that you're getting a check this month, but you didn't have to work this month to get that check you getting this month. So you start taking it as a given. Now you start getting seduced into accepting that your money doesn't mean anything. When it's given to you and guaranteed, well, it loses its value. Now you start looking for indulgences and distractions. Now you start looking for that. And this is how a bunch of you fellas get yourselves caught up with scandalous females, scandalous friends, scandalous connections. Most men are not in a position where they don't have to work to earn their money. But even if you are a man who works for it, if you don't value it, if your money doesn't mean anything to you, then you're going to find yourself in that situation. Do I think that Marcus earned this drug habit learned it from one of his parents? I don't know. What I do know is that we've all seen the man who raised him. Michael Jordan didn't have the luxury of getting high, gambling away his money, blowing it on hoes in the early days back in the 80s. Michael Jordan didn't have that luxury. He had to fight and work to earn that luxury later. His son has always had it. He's got the benefits and the luxuries without ever having cultivated the character traits, the work ethic, the skill set, or the personality to generate the benefits. He doesn't have it. And as a result, Michael Jordan is witnessing his own genetic legacy going up in smoke within his own lifetime. However, you might disagree. Therefore, we're going to go ahead and open things up here for you to chat with us here. I'm going ahead and open up the Zoom. You can go ahead and contact us on Zoom here. So tonight's going to be our first program. We're going to take all of our calls exclusively on Zoom tonight. And you can weigh in on this. Some of you are divorced. Some of you have been engaged. Some of you got put down very, very quickly. You walked off into things very, very quickly. You had women you didn't know very well. People around you didn't know very well. There's a price to pay for that. There are some fellas listening to me here right now. No, you might not be a NBA player, NFL player, but your money doesn't mean anything to you, or you got caught slipping by somebody who saw he doesn't really value what he's got. He doesn't really value that. Now they step in and take advantage. Some of you got kids by folk like that. She's got a leash on you for the next 18 years and gonna be working it. She's got a leash on you for the next 18 years, for some of you even longer, and she's gonna be working it. And all you can really do is just sit there and look at it and hope she doesn't run you too damn bad. If you've been deceived into thinking that, the only thing you need to do is sit up here and chase a life of leisure and comfort and ease and go ahead and be a couch potato, just understand there are folk looking for that. Especially for you young fellas. It's bad enough that Marcus has not been required to work for anything, but when you're a young man who didn't even have a chance, you're a young man who hasn't even had a chance. You haven't even learned the skill sets, the character traits that produce that. You haven't even learned that. Then you take a look when you start getting people around you, folks around you who are so obviously unproductive. What does this girl bring to the table for him? Okay, he's just Michael Jordan's son and got access to Michael's money. Okay, what does she have? What does she have that is commensurate or equivalent to what he's risking? What is she risking? What is her being there, getting next to him? What is it costing her? Is he even asking that question? By the way, what is it costing her to be here? What is it costing her to be around me? What is it costing her to be next to me? What is she contributing? What is she contributing that is worthy of what I'm putting up? I'm not making an issue of the fact he got females around him. What I'm saying is that you're not dealing with them from a position of strength. You're dealing with them from a position of weakness. Let's be clear about something. No female, no sensible female feels like she's with a strong man who's snorting damn me cocaine. Charlie Sheen, Hunter Biden, you name them. No woman feels like you in control when she sees you hitting the narcotic. She knows your days are numbered. She knows it's only a matter of time before you fall off. There's no woman who's looking to you for leadership. So the only thing she can be there for is to pat them pockets down, grab what she can grab, and dash for the door. And what you're going to look back on is a whole bunch of receipts and a whole bunch of places. And it wasn't really with a whole bunch of folks who were not invested in you. And you're throwing years out the door for that. Years. Marcus Jordan is 33 years old right now. He's supposed to be preparing for what he's going to do when his father is no longer viable, but he's looking to just coast off of his dad. And a lot of fellows out here, please understand, when that happens, imagine having lived your whole life. You've got kids. Eventually, at some point, you're going to start really concentrating on how well they're going to carry on your legacy, since you will not be able to do that forever. And this is what it was all for. See, when your kids sit around and they look at a father, they look at a man who is not focused on producing, this is what happens. When your kids sit around and they think that what they're given is just going to be granted to them, and they can take it for granted, nobody's really got to work for it, it's a bad deal. Coddling your children is the deadliest thing you can do for them. It's better to have a child who grew up in an environment that was too harsh than to have a child who grew up in an environment that was too soft. You're not going to get a soft child who became a soft adult, yank them out at the age of 24, 25, and then say, okay, we need for you to go ahead and take charge now. They're going to be too fragile. They're too fragile. They're too weak. They're not trying to hear that. If you've been feeding them hand to mouth all these years, they're going to expect that to continue going on. You're not going to be able to go kick them in the ass one day and then get them kicked into gear. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. If you are unwilling to put them through the hardship they need to be put through to begin with, it's not going to occur. They'll be grown, and then you'll get up one day and see them getting taken advantage of by some plastic Barbie dolls. You gotta sit there and watch that. Most of us today have seen fragile males. Fragile males are not able to do anything but self-destruct. Coddling and being soft makes them self-destruct. You're not saving them. Understand, people, when you don't force your kids to earn it, and by earning it, I mean they're put in situations where it is unfair. That's one of the biggest failures that I see from parents today. Every time I see somebody like that, most of you should not have any children because you do not believe in allowing your children to experience unfair situations. Life is not fair. Yes, your children should be aware of what justice is and have an understanding of it and the concept of it and an adherence to it. Absolutely. But what they should not have is an expectation that the world is just and the world is fair. So that's the reason why they need to go through hardship and difficulty where things are allowed to go to hell and crash down around them so that they can absorb that biggest of all lessons. That life's not fair. Even if you are perfectly decent, even if you are perfectly fine, even if you are a perfectly so-called law-abiding citizen, which is what most misguided, ill-informed, misinformed males tell themselves, that if they're a law-abiding citizen, they're a good person. Nothing could be further from the truth. Just because you're a law-abiding citizen does not make you a, quote, good man. But even if it did, that doesn't mean that the world is going to give you credit for that. You will be met by adversity, by injustice, by hardship, by unfairness, no matter what you do. Now, are you grooming children who are going to operate in that environment as autonomous beings, that they have the desire for a just world, but not the expectation that the world is just, that justice will be something that they have to make, and that they have no expectation of fairness, not any fairness that they can't enforce? I could go even further into this. When I see parents behaving in this manner, I have to ask myself whether or not they even like their son.
Damn!
If Michael is still supplying him with money, and this is going on, and you know Michael has to be aware, or maybe he's not. Maybe Michael has been so concerned about Michael that he's been blissfully, completely oblivious to what's going on with his son. Could it be that Michael Jordan has been so self-absorbed that he's oblivious to what's happening to his own son? He's been so busy trying to chase some young bleach blondes of his own that he is completely checked out years ago from the task of having to raise his own son, or the expectation that he has to. And the son is following in the footsteps of the father. Just a thought. Let's go ahead and get over here on Zoom. I've got Frank over here on Zoom. And what's on your mind, Frank?
Hey, Jason, good evening. This is another fantastic broadcast. The question that I have for you is, practically speaking, at this point in time, do you think that is anything that Michael Jordan can do to help his son?
At 33 years old, the only thing Michael Jordan could do is turn the damn spigot off. If he's getting the money from Michael, the only thing he can do at this point is turn the spigot off and hope that works, because you don't have anything else. I've told you all, once you all become grown people, we've left the world of being able to raise you. You can raise children. You can't raise a grown man. You direct a grown man. You instruct a grown man. You warn a grown man. You don't raise a grown man, because you can't. So without that, there's only one tool in the chest, and that's not really a teaching tool. So you're hoping that the world will be able to kick into him survival instincts and the genetics will take over, because it's sure not going to be teaching at this point. We passed that.
Yeah. What do you think a man in Michael Jordan's position could have done to minimize the chances of this happening?
Well, number one, you have to choose carefully what your purpose in this world is. Once a man has children, I don't want to say a person, but once a man has children, you better understand that's going to be the biggest job you got. There's a reason I don't have any biological children today, because if I did have children, you're going to have to concentrate on that. You cannot be an effective father and your kids don't come first. So you better choose carefully what your purpose is going to be, because if your purpose does not accommodate them, if your purpose in life is to be the greatest basketball player who ever lived, even after you've become a father, you've become a father, but your goal is not to be the greatest father you can be. Your goal is still to be the greatest basketball player you can be. Something is going to suffer. Well, yeah, you're going to focus on basketball because you don't want basketball to suffer. Well, your son will. Well, I can't focus on my son like that because then my basketball game will suffer. Something's got to give. So what will it be? Your basketball legacy or your personal one? The second thing is you have to choose the right woman. You have got to choose the right woman. And I don't know if Michael did that. Taking a look at the fruit from the tree, I got questions about that. So the next thing is you have to have the right woman. Some women can focus on raising balanced children when you set her up nice and set her up lovely. Some women understand that simply raising a law-abiding citizen is not enough. That's like raising goldfish. You coddled them. A law-abiding citizen is not enough. Are you building a prince for the king who will inherit this? That's the question. Did Juanita raise a prince who will be able to take over the father's kingdom? Who's going to be able to take over the empire? Did she do that? Or did she do like the rest of the NBA wives, make sure she got her hair did and her nails did and she looking fly and pretty, and well, as long as the kids don't die of starvation or exposure, well, haven't I done a good job? All I'm saying is take a look. Obviously, if she was an influence, she damn well wasn't worth much of one. Take a look what the sons turned out to be. Has she insisted that the sons go through hardship and difficulty so that they're built of what's necessary to handle that their father had to overcome adversity, and now she is going to make sure they got to do the same thing? You take a look at her son. Does he look like he was raised to overcome adversity? Also, do you appreciate it? I will submit to you that Juanita did not have to work hard enough or sacrifice enough. Did Juanita have to work for it, toil for it, grovel for it, dig through the dirt for it, cry herself to sleep some nights over it in order to become Michael Jordan's woman? How much did she have to sacrifice? Or did you let some damn jackass tell you that your woman ain't supposed to do that? Dude, you are a once-in-a-lifetime individual. That woman should have to do some once-in-a-lifetime stuff to qualify to even be here. Did Michael require that? Based on what I've seen, no. So next you go to Juanita. Well, I mean, if he didn't require that of her, then how is she going to instill that in your sons? You see, men today have been conditioned to think that they're supposed to get successful and then drop the world at a woman's feet. That's dumb. That's stupid. She's supposed to qualify for that. If it's just a given, how can you expect somebody to appreciate something that's just a given? If it's guaranteed and it's just going to be given for granted, how can you expect them to appreciate it? And if they don't appreciate it, then expect them to take advantage of you. So if he didn't sit up here and require that, ladies, I know a bunch of y'all ain't gonna like it. It's too damn bad. I'm not gonna raise these fellas and condition these fellas and inform these fellas to expect less than that. Fellas, if she doesn't have to work for it, she's not gonna appreciate it. If you're an extraordinary man, she should have to go to extraordinary lengths to get you. Well, Jason, why? Because if it's easy, it's not going to be appreciated. And if she doesn't have to really work for it, she's not invested. See, understand something. There are things you all have been taught about that you think are negatives and they're actually not. There are things to be understood. Most of you have heard about the sunk loss fallacy, which basically says that you've become emotionally invested in something to the point that you're refusing to let it go. Because you're like, well, I've invested in this so much, even though I'm not getting anything for it, if I give up now, then it's better for me to get, I expected to get 100%, but right now I'm only going to get 10%. So I better just take the 10% I can get. Otherwise, I've lost 100%. And what the point is, that's the sunk loss fallacy. Dude, if you lost 90%, there's no value in it. You're trying to hold the 10%, but your goal was 100%. You've lost 90. The investment is already gone. The investment's already gone. The only thing you're doing now is throwing good money after bad, good time after bad. That's all you're doing. And when you don't teach your children to sacrifice, they don't become adults who understand the value of it, then they start just bringing people around them for what they can get. It's not enough for a man like Michael Jordan to have a law-abiding citizen for a wife. That's not enough. That is not enough. A Jay-Z got to have a Beyonce. A Jay-Z got to have a Beyonce. A Joe Jackson got to have a Catherine Jackson. You can't build a Michael Jackson without a Catherine Jackson. You got to have it if you intend for this to become an empire. If you don't, well, just go grab the first bleach blonde you can, smoke, drink, wine, woman, and song till they take your ass out of here. And that's it. But what you are watching right now on your screens, that is an empire in decline. If you all want to know what an empire in decline looks like, from Rome to America, there it is on your screen. That's what it looks like. You can look at him and you can all tell the wealth isn't going to make it out of the first generation. It's a tragedy. You can take a look at this and see the wealth will not make it past the first generation. It's already gone. And we'll all just be here to witness it when it happens.
Do you think that the reason his mom right now isn't saying anything is because she doesn't want to get on the son's bad side, because she's hoping that he would always be willing to provide for her in case something happens between her and the dad?
No, I mean, she's already gotten her millions out of Michael. So, while needing them already divorced, she got her money. I think the reason she's not saying anything is I think she's washed her hands of the son too.
Mm.
I don't think she's good on that. I don't think it's cool. She raised him to be the type of male he is. See, this is what happens in the last 40, 50 years. The problem with the sexual revolution and the feminist flagrancy is that women are raising sons that they can't stand.
What?
Women are raising sons to become men that these women don't even like. Case in point, it shouldn't be lost on Juanita. Yeah, you was light-skinned, but Michael traded you in for the real thing. And your son doesn't even talk to black women. So, yeah, that's got to be giving her some discomfort to see that. Your son is making headlines, and there's not anything that even looks remotely like you. And I'm sure that the son was given those cues and those signs early on. I don't think this is something that just popped up at 25 years old. I'm pretty sure it was pretty clear early on. Yeah, your son don't really fool with black cheap females like that. Not even the light-skinned ones. He don't even really fool with them. He's really over here on this, and he's consistent. So if she doesn't want to have to take responsibility or any accountability for her part in this, hell yeah, she's going to be quiet. There's no way she can talk her way out of this and argue her way out of this. If she tries to put it all on Michael, it's like, wait, wasn't you sitting at home? Your son is a product of your upbringing. Michael was on the road. You were the one raising him. He was on the road.
So what you're saying is that even for a man who wants to be highly successful personally, once you have children, you need to find a way to get a balance between becoming more and more successful in your own career or your own personal endeavors and raising the children such that they can be a proper legacy for you.
Look, the bottom line is once you become a father, it's one thing when you're single. It's one thing when you're single and don't have children. This can be a difficult thing for, men like you or me with no children to accept it. By the way, there's going to be a life change when you become a father. I've talked about that before. I got brothers that once they got married and started having children, I'm like, nigga, you done changed. Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. The way we used to interact and things we used to be able to do, as soon as they got married and had kids, that came to a stop. And what I'm saying is you will not be able to do the same things you were doing before you became a father, not if you're going to be good at it. You cannot dedicate the same amount of time, the same amount of effort. You're not going to do the same thing. You're not going to be able to stay excellent over here, giving 100% of yourself over here to your profession and think that, well, don't worry, the kids will be all right. Something's got to give. So there's going to have to be a shift. There's going to have to be a change in priorities. That does not mean you have to give up your profession, but you must accept that can no longer be the most important thing to you.
Yeah.
You see, when you're single and got no kids, your job, your work is your legacy. Once you have kids, now your legacy is taking on a new form. There's going to literally be a living extension of you when you're dead and gone. So let me get this straight. You want to make sure that your income earning ability stays straight, even though that's going to die very, very soon. Michael Jordan's career has been over for decades. His son is still walking around. Michael Jordan's NBA career has been over for decades. His son is still walking around and will be for decades more. So, yeah, you can shirk your responsibilities if you want to. You can keep making your priority what your work is, whatever. Just understand you were warned something had to give.
Yeah. I know that with a story like this, there's going to be those men who are going to come out of the woodwork saying, this is why money doesn't matter. This is why it's okay if I'm broke and I'm trying to have children. What will you say to them when they look at a story like this?
Please understand something. So-called poor men are the easiest men usually to take advantage of, precisely because he feels he has nothing to lose. So tonight's program is about if you got money, you may have so much you feel you got nothing to lose. If you got a guaranteed paycheck, you start pension pimping or your trust fund tricking, then you start feeling like you got nothing to lose. Well, guess what? So do young men. So do poor men. Poor men can tell themselves, well, hell, I ain't got nothing to lose. And they don't understand, there's a reason why poor men are the most miserable. There's a whole bunch of folks out here still trying to tell themselves that lie. It's going to be a whole bunch of young females out here get themselves screwed over with some loser. They usually do. Poor men. Professor Scott Galloway talked about this in an interview recently. And he's right. Statistically speaking, he said poor people are not as happy. He said people say money can't buy happiness. That's bull crap. It certainly does. Poor people are not as happy as middle class people. Middle class people are not as happy as affluent people. And affluent people are not as happy as rich people. That's a fact. Period. That's a fact. So if you get a poor guy who tells you, well, I'm safe because I got nothing to lose, that's because he's got nothing to gain. And he's telling himself he'll accept that. So a person can wallow in slop and filth so long they can't smell it anymore. That can happen.
Yeah. So would you say that there is no difference between like a Marcus who earned his money and who didn't earn his money, who inherited it and is going down this path, versus someone who built himself up but didn't know how to keep it and then maybe ends up down, like going down the same path, doing drugs and that?
Yes, that's the point I was making here, is that it doesn't matter how you get it. When you reach a point where it doesn't matter to you, when it starts to feel unearned,
Okay.
when your money does not matter to you. So it's most obvious with men who didn't have to earn it. It was just given to them by their parents or something. It's most obvious to them, but you can be a guy who's working 80 hours a week. I mean, why do you think about this for a few moments, folks. I was thinking about this the other day, and think about this for a few moments. There'll be a few of you guys in here that this resonates with you for all the wrong damn reasons.
Damn!
Have you all considered that lonely, failed men are probably the biggest enterprise in history? Do you realize how much money prostitution is made? Do you realize how much money females pretending to like you? If we add up the entirety of human history, do you realize how much money gold diggers have made? Opportunists have made? I mean, just forget prostitution altogether. How about just gold diggers, obvious gold diggers and obvious opportunists? Do you all realize how much money that's made? Then you take that into the modern context. Folks in the chat room got ahead of me there. Take a look at OnlyFans. Take a look at Snapchat. Take a look at Ashley Madison. We can go down the list. In places where they've legalized prostitution. There shouldn't be a prostitute on this damn planet who can make a dime. There should not be a single prostitute on this, maybe 3 of them, and they should have to be drop dead gorgeous, and the men should have to look like Quasimodo. If you don't know who Quasimodo was, look it up. Prostitution should not be a multi-hundred-billion-dollar industry. That's ridiculous. OnlyFans should not be $1 billion enterprise. It's outrageous. Tinder, Bumble, you name it, that's outrageous. It's undamn real. It'd be one thing if they were making a few million. We're talking about, if you count all these sex enterprises, we're talking about hundreds of billions, if not $1 trillion a year. A year. Men are willing to work and spend money on something that is free, that does not cost money. It's a whole bunch of dudes talking chicks in the bed every day, including the prostitute that you're trying to sleep with.
Damn!
Yeah, I had to correct Kevin Samuels on that one. By the way, you shouldn't pay for a prostitute because, by the way, there's a fella sleeping with her, even the prostitute you sleeping with. She got a man, there's a fella sleeping with her, ain't paying for it. She's not charging him. And that's power dynamics. If you have to pay her, but there's a man who doesn't have to pay her, you the hoe, not her. So please understand, Men, there shouldn't be women shouldn't be able to make money that easy. Women know things that we as men don't. Except for the errant individual who might end up in your DMs in a misguided fashion. At least I hope it's misguided. Every female in here sees how easy and desperate males are. She goes to her DMs at least once or twice a week. There's somebody popping up in there. Hello, queen. And then you got the others who don't even lead with a hello. They lead with their damn wallets. Hey, baby, you want to go here? You want to go there? Didn't even ask her name. That's what's happening in the real world. Not even asking her name. This is the reality of males in the world. They'll still, your friends at your job will still pretend that they ain't doing that. Bro, these industries would not be billion-dollar industries as they are if men wasn't buying. So it's disgraceful. It's ridiculous. But that's what the reality is. And now that you understand that, getting them to change is going to be, getting the women to alter what they're doing is going to be difficult because they know they always have that as a trump card. And if the fellas do not see value in what they're doing and they don't have value in their money, he has no problem dumping it on a prostitute, dumping it on lot lizards, dumping it on OnlyFans because he thinks he's found something more valuable than his work. And he refuses to fix the problems in himself so that he can actually become a person who doesn't have to rely on these crutches. You never saw, there's a reason why we call them crutches, brother. Those for hurt people, handicapped people. Yeah. Healthy people don't need crutches. Healthy people don't need crutches, don't need walkers, don't need wheelchairs. Those are for the unhealthy. And when you have to whip out your wallet to get female companionship or attention or admiration or respect, yeah, you're at best you're on crutches, at worst you're on life support.
Yeah. Do you think that it is possible that if Michael's son meets a woman that he really likes and who has her head on straight, that she could help mitigate his issues?
No. And the reason for that is because the only woman who could do that is one who was genuinely invested in him as a person. But him as a person is not really an alpha or a protector and provider. So that's not what he is. So he would be looking for a female play date and a female playmate, which is what he's been doing. But what he isn't looking for is a female who's going to have expectations and standards. Now that's, if the moment she tries to do that, he's going to have an adverse reaction.
Yeah, I can see. Okay. Yeah, I see that. I see.
I'll let you have the last word.
Yeah. So once again, Jason, just want to thank you for another fantastic broadcast. And I'll be sure to rewatch it so that I can really get everything down. $1 sign.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. When a man's money doesn't mean anything to him, either because you didn't have to earn it or because you've earned it and you have character flaws that make you not value it, just understand you're going to be sitting ducks. On your screen right now, for those of you who are joining us late, in case you're unaware, there's a story making the rounds that's just reminding us. There's a story making the rounds about Michael Jordan's son, fresh off of Larsa Pippen. Now we've captured him overseas. You can see the new female he's with. Meet the new thought. Same as the old thought. Boy, he thinks he's killing the game, and they just sitting there smiling at him. Boy, he thinks he's the life of the party, too. He really, really does. He thinks he's the life of the party. He thinks he's killing it. It's killing him. Let me go ahead and get back over here on Zoom. All right, I got Prince out of Richmond here on Zoom. What's on your mind, Prince?
Yes, Brother Jason, great broadcast. You're definitely right, man. Being a parent is a lifetime endeavor. And you bring up a key point. You can never stop producing because your children are always watching you. You know, if you become unproductive, and this is why I thank God for my grandfather, you know, who raised me, my grandfather, my grandmother, and he never stopped being productive. He was always, when he's retired, he would sell watermelons. He would teach me things. He would go do things. He was always being busy. He never just sit around and did nothing per se. You know, he always dressed up with a nice fresh shirt on, khakis. He had nice shoes on, and that had an impact on me, you know. And if you were to change when it comes to your children, like not being productive, it can affect. I don't know how does it affect them. That's what I want to know. If you've been productive all these years, and you say, "Hey, you know what, Jason? I'm here. I'm retired now. Let me do a little pension pimping." How is that going to be a negative effect if I've shown and I've produced things other than that in my life? Why is that a negative effect on the children?
Because a man cannot live without respect, and no one can respect a man for whom his power doesn't mean anything.
Okay.
If you're easily taken, if we can clearly see the people around you didn't sacrifice anything, you're there for the taking, you're an old easy trick, just recognize this. It's impossible to respect you. See, and you've witnessed this probably as a parent.
Yes.
Parenting is not a popularity contest.
Man.
Okay, but what do most people today treat parenting as? They treat their kids like their peers. It's become a popularity contest as opposed to parenting. A man cannot be a politician and still be a leader. Your job's not to politic with your women and your children. Your job's to lead. And when you start politicking and you start focusing more on being liked than on being respected,
you said it.
When that occurs, please understand. I see this so often throughout my life. I've seen it so often. There are so many people that their children smile in their faces and tell them how much they like them and how much they love them. Yeah, but they don't respect them.
Not a bit.
All of y'all listen to me right now. You've seen people that their kids, they done got grown. They smile at them. They laugh at them. They show up for Thanksgiving. Yeah, but dude, he doesn't really respect you. I've seen people at their job that they respect.
Yes.
And they don't treat them folk at the job like they treat you. They don't regard them like they do you. Well, Jason, what do you mean? You mean about cussing them out, this, that, and the other? It doesn't even have to go that far with it. What I'm saying is that as a parent, please understand one of the greatest insults that can happen to you, and this is coming from a man who doesn't even have children, and I understand this better than 99% of the people who do, which is a damn disgrace. But in any case, your children admire other men. What?
Yes.
See, it's a damn disgrace to see professional sports. Tiger Woods admired his father.
He did. He showed it in his productivity.
Whatever Earl Woods' faults might have been, Tiger Woods admired his father. Simone Biles does not admire her mother.
Damn! No.
We can go down the list. Them NBA athletes and NFL athletes, they show up at the combines, they shouting out at everybody, but they daddy. They don't admire you. Arguable whether or not they respect you or even like you. Can't confirm that, but I can confirm they don't admire you. How can I prove that? Listen to how they talk about their coaches.
That's the greatest form of disrespect, man.
They talk about the coach like the father figure in their life, the person that they're there to please, the person that they're worried about having the respect and the esteem of. They talk about the coach that way. They don't talk about you that way. You see that? That is professional sports today. I'm talking about male and female. That's why I brought up Simone Biles. We can go down the list. You can't name a single one of them folk who sit up there and speak about their parents with reverence. They speak about their coaches with reverence. They look up to them. They talk about them as far as their life and what they built and where they're going and their status as a person. They don't speak about their father that way. It's like, hey, dad, catch a clue, nigga. Your son's talking to you. He talks about how much he likes his father. When he said he respects you, when I don't hear him speak about you the way he does that man over there. No, that man over there, he admires him. He clearly doesn't admire you. That's why pension pimping can't work.
There you go.
If you're willing to subsist at that low level, and you and I have met many men who they just gave up on life, and that's all they can get. If you're willing to accept that, but just understand, as you know, Prince, that's a living hell. When you know that you are not genuinely admired and respected, admiration ain't got a damn thing to do with being liked.
No, please let them know.
Respect and admiration do not have a damn thing to do with being liked. There's a reason why athletes can be admired. They can have completely reprehensible personal lives, but as athletes, you can look up to them.
Yes, respect.
You didn't know nothing about Muhammad Ali. You just know what you saw on TV.
Yes.
But yet, people admired him. You can certainly admire him as an athlete, as a world figure. You can admire that. They got folks that have raised them, but you don't admire them. You're not looking at them and saying, that's the person I want to be like. I want to emulate that. This is the person whose respect I need. This is the status. I'm looking to have that. It's not going on. So you can't do that. Pension pimping, trust fund tricking. It doesn't work because the people around you can see you're not the source of anything. Furthermore, if you're not competing, that means you're not developing. You stop growing. No one can respect you if your life has stopped growing. When you talk about ancient cultures, for example, when we talk about, and I'm going to go to Asia, because that's the one that you all can identify with most because of Hollywood. But take a look when they talk about, the Shaolin temples, and they go find some old monk somewhere in a mountain, some swami or, some sage or something there, some guru. And what do they always show you? Why is it that he's considered to be the wise man? He's considered to be a wise man because he never stopped learning. Even if he can't do the karate kicks and karate chops anymore and all that flipping through the air like he used to teach his students how to do, he's not able to do that. And yet, you can still see that he's still developing. His mental muscles are still as strong as ever and getting stronger. He's having more to draw off of. So you see, you never lose the ability to respect or admire him because he's never stopped competing.
Never. I watched, Star Wars and Master Yoda. He seemed very frail and old, but he was a very powerful Jedi. I know it's sci-fi, but the fact that he didn't flex his muscle, but he got the respect of the people around him. And Jason, if what I'm seeing, and help me articulate this better if I'm not doing it, that if you start pinching, pimping, and doing this trust fund stuff, that at some point, if you were productive before, people will lose respect for you. If your children would lose respect, if they see the people around you don't respect you that way no more, because you're not competent like you used to be. So do you think that your children look at their parents to see if they're respected by other people?
You can try it. But it goes further than that, Prince. It goes further than that. Let me see if I can find it for you all right quick, because it goes further than that. It's not a matter. I don't want you to get too stuck on whether or not you're, quote, competing, because it really goes deeper than that. It's not a matter of just, how people see you as a competitive being, or whether or not you're doing this or whether or not you're doing that. It really comes down to whether or not they should listen to you. There are things that are incumbent on you and required of you, whether you think it's fair, whether you think it's right. That is just where you are.
So meaning you have to be if you're not a person that they can come to and that is competent, no matter what your age is, they shouldn't listen to you, so they may not respect you.
Let me show you all something on your screens right now. Let me show you something on your screens for you, Prince. It'll take a second there before you can even see anything since you're on Zoom. Seeing you're listening to me live, but you'll see it there in just a moment. This is from ESPN's YouTube page. Let me go ahead and I'm going to take everything off the screen here so folks can see everything clearly. This is from ESPN's YouTube page. From LeBron James' Instagram. There he is, face to face with Carmelo there. They're at the Olympics. And Carmelo telling him, man, you got to get it done the hard way. You got to get it done. Found that to be very interesting. Matter of fact, let me go see if I can check on Instagram and see if I can get LeBron James is up there. Because there's a point to that. There's a point to it, and I'm going to try to be diplomatic. I'm going to try to be diplomatic about this. I'm going to try to be honest, but I'm going to try to be diplomatic about it at the same time. If I can. Okay, because I went there to go take a look at that. Let me see if he put that up there or not. Okay, they psyching each other up. Hopefully they don't whack each other in the head. That would be unfortunate. They're getting hyped. I don't know if that was in his stories or not. Okay, it's not in his stories. Because I'm looking through there. I can't spend too much time looking for it. All right, why is LeBron walk around like that? Okay. Nope. Okay. I don't see it. So I don't know if it was in his stories or wherever it was, but that's him talking to Carmelo. That's him talking to Carmelo. Let me go ahead and put this back on you all's screen there. That's LeBron James with Carmelo Anthony telling him, hey, you got to step your game up out here at this thing. I want to make a point right quick, Prince, from this picture. And I'm going to be diplomatic about this. So I'm trying to, I keep saying that because I want to be diplomatic about this. I don't want folks to take this the wrong way. LeBron James and Carmelo were teammates.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Weren't they teammates? I'm pretty sure they were. I'm going to say I saw them on the same team. There have been videos about that. So, chat room, were they teammates in Cleveland? Yeah, were they teammates in Cleveland? I forget where they were. Only on the Olympics. Okay. Y'all sure about that? I'm about to say, yeah. No. I'm talking about the NBA. The NBA. Okay, there's folks in there talking about, no, they were not teammates. This is a problem with the internet. People will sit up here and say, nope, not true. Okay. When I'm knowing that they were in the NBA. I know they were in the NBA. And you have folks in the chat room talking, no, they're not. Somebody knew in big letters. No, N-O. Okay. Kenny B, Google is your friend. So, yeah, by the way, there's folks in there proudly define, nope, they were never teammates. I'm like, okay. This is only in the Olympics. It's like, all right, they got Google sitting in front of them. So, I mean, they're proud about it too. Nope, never did. Okay, but here's my point. Carmelo and LeBron James were teammates. LeBron's the only gladiator still in the arena.
Real talk.
The amount of respect and admiration that people are going to have simply looking at that picture you got on your screen right now, one of them is in a different world of respect and admiration than the other. For no other reason than only one of them is still a gladiator out there in the arena. By that token, Carmelo has more respect than the old timers who ain't even able to get to the court. It is what it is.
That's real talk.
you're going to automatically have more respect and admiration for Carmelo than you would Kareem. Can I even remember him?
Say that, but he's the most. He's one of the most accomplished players. Kareem is one of the most accomplished players of all time.
He certainly is.
I mean, wow.
But please understand something, folks. What a man does is what keeps him relevant. When you lose relevance, you lose respect. Remember, in Japanese culture, the greatest insult that you can give somebody is to say they're weak.
Okay.
In America, in Western society, it might be to say that the man is effeminate or to say that he's a liar or a hypocrite. But in Japanese society, the greatest insult you can give somebody is to tell him that he's weak. That carries a great significance for them to not be perceived that way. And as a man, LeBron is still out there. Melo is not. Just on face value, in that picture right there, you have two different dimensions of respect. But one is higher than the other.
But he's not playing anymore. So, because you said it ain't just the competitive. Carmelo's not competing anymore. So why would he? What kind of respect would James have for him when they're I would say somewhat peers? He's not as old as a Kareem, as
the only thing that Melo is not doing in that picture is wearing a jersey and throwing the ball. That's the only thing he's not doing.
Gotcha.
Now, none of us question that he could do it. The only thing we would question is, could he do it at the level he was when he was in the Lakers? That's the only question we would have. Kareem can't do it. Time catches up with you, but Kareem can't do it. So what I'm saying is you got 3 steps of respect. All of them are respected, but if we're going to keep it real, one of them has a much higher level of relevance. When a man stops competing, he loses relevance in that sphere. He does. You cannot compare his work ethic to others. You can only compare what his work ethic used to be. But you cannot compare what he's doing now. And without that, the bottom line is the gladiator who's in the arena still swinging a sword is always going to have more relevance than the one who used to.
So what do your accomplishments mean, Jason? If at some point, if you just put down the mantle, you put the sword and the shield down, if you don't become that scholar or that teacher, it's all for nothing?
What I'm saying is that what a man needs to demonstrate is the ability to change gears. You need to be able to demonstrate the ability to shift gears. Just remember, if you become a one-trick pony, you are doing that at your own peril. That's why they tell them, okay, they might have been players. They better work on being coaches. But if a man can only do one thing, please remember, you better be able to do it the rest of your life. Because the moment you stop being able to do that, that was what made you relevant. As soon as you stop doing that, all you can really become is a resource, even if you have a bunch of money.
You said that even with Michael Irvin, the fact that you said should be no reason that he shouldn't have his own social media thing where he can do it. He don't have to depend on these networks or nothing. His popularity, he should be able to do that on his own. What do you think that some people lack the confidence, or they just like being in their comfort zone?
Cameron and Mace have a sports channel that's popping, and Michael Irvin is talking about how to get ESPN to let him back in the damn door. Think about that for just a few moments. So ESPN has enough faith and confidence in you to put you behind an announcer's desk to commentate. But they don't have it for themselves. Just think about that for a few moments. And you've had some other basketball players and who've got some YouTube channels going and things like that. And what I'm saying is I got a lot of respect for them because, like I say, instead of chasing an announcer's job that could go away because you're only there as long as Disney can afford to pay you or CBS or Fox can afford to pay you. When case in point, it's like, okay, if you own your own thing, you don't even have to worry about that. You don't even have to worry about it. And the other thing is what you own and control. But also, it forces you to compete. But one other thing, you can compete freely. You You see, when you work for a corporation, you can only say what they want you to say. What if that's not what the people are really trying to hear? What if First Take is allowed to say things you're not? So they're just getting to beat you to death in the ratings because they can say things that you're not allowed to say. Well, if you have your own thing, you can say whatever you need to. Notice I didn't say what you want to, what you need to. And what I'm saying is I think it's just a difference of vision. These guys came into sports looking to be employees. They're going to leave looking to do the same thing. You cannot convince a person to take risks if they are risk averse.
Okay.
Doesn't matter how young or old they are. If they have a comfort zone, if success lies outside their comfort zone, then they're going to start losing.
Jason, you just said the term that I want to talk about, risk, when it comes to your children and not coddling them. Joe Kennedy didn't coddle his oldest son, his firstborn, born from all records. He had such respect and love for his son, but his son got in an airplane during World War II and went on a suicide mission pretty much, and he lost his life. I never heard his daddy complain about how what was done was unfair, that his son was put on a mission like that. How do you feel about people that put their children in situations? You said, it's sacrifice and risk. Is there such thing as too much risk?
Well, yes, there is. I mean, Joe Kennedy actually had a lot of regrets about what happened to his son. That was the person that he was grooming to send to the White House. That was the whole point of it. His second oldest, JFK, he had a health condition, made him more gaunt and his eyes kind of bugged out a little bit. So, he wasn't nearly as photogenic as his older brother had been. But Joe was pretty busted up about his first son dying just because it was his son. But so he had a lot of investment in that personally. You don't build a political dynasty like they did, and you're not invested in that regard. And they did talk about fairness or lack thereof. I mean, that's one of the things that Ted Kennedy talked about after JFK and RFK got assassinated. That life is not fair. I mean, he said that in the speech. He said that in the speech eulogizing them. So they've spoken about how it's not fair. The only thing we can do is understand that. The only thing we can do is understand that, and maybe you can make some precautions for it. Because, Jason, how do you deal with an unfair world? You rig the damn game.
Exactly. You teach your children, if they get drafted in the military, you need to prepare them for what's going to happen to your best of your ability. You don't have them going into the world blind. I'm sorry. That's how I feel about it.
Well, look, the bottom line is what you don't want to do is sit up and take needless risks. Life is always going to have those. But certainly don't come into anything with the idea that it's going to treat you fairly, that the universe owes that to you. Because I believe the universe does. The universe does owe us fairness, and it does owe us justice. I just don't think we're going to be able to hold it to it. That's the problem. I just don't think we're going to be able to enforce it. So since I don't think we can actually enforce it, being realistic, you're going to have to accept that for what it is and then move accordingly.
Let me ask you this with Denzel Washington's son. I didn't really know that was his son until later on, even though they have the same name. Do you, in your opinion, because we don't know much about how him and his wife raised their children, I do see different results in the way the young man carries himself. The fact that he played in the NFL and he become an actor, he don't seem like he's tried to make it off his father's name. How important of a thing you think that is for a child to make their own bones? Or do you think they need to?
Well, look, clearly Denzel Washington has not lived that Hollywood life. Clearly Paulette is a different type of female than what you see running around here in most of these places. So very clearly Denzel has been an outlier. Okay. And you can see the results. You can see the very clear difference. But Denzel is rare. The bottom line is Denzel is rare. Denzel wasn't running around chasing a bunch of crazy females and getting into drugs and all that old nonsense. He stayed focused on his career, but obviously you can see what some of them breaks in acting were for. And you can clearly see how much of an influence he's had on his son. You can see he is clearly an influence and a positive one. So, and David Washington has been allowed to get out there and, try his hand at different things or whatever. But nobody's gotten the idea that his father has been opening doors or doing anything for him. Nobody's gotten that feeling or that idea. He's really had to stand on his own. You don't get to work for Chris Nolan because somebody made a phone call. So if anybody does want to doubt, John David Washington's acting chops, by the way, Christopher Nolan works with whoever he wants to. Folks fight to work for him. If he picks up the phone, anybody he wants is going to answer it. If you ended up on his movies, you earned it. Nobody can hold anything over his head. He only works with who he wants to work with. No studio can say, hey, you really need to get this guy a role. There's a reason why Will Smith, I'm sorry, I ain't supposed to say that. We can go down teeny bopper lane if you want to. There's a reason why certain folks, it doesn't matter how much cachet they have in certain areas, and he's never worked with them. And he won't, because it's like, the gravitas isn't there. It's not there. So if you're in a Christopher Nolan movie, it's not because your father made a phone call.
Hey, now, Jason, isn't it hard living in the shadow of a great?
It's torture.
So
it is torment.
You grade him on a curve.
No, you cannot. Your lot in life will be difficult for different reasons than other people's lot in life is difficult. You had the fortune of having a father who made sure your life wasn't the struggle that some people's might have been, but now you have the misfortune of being the son of an icon. And people expected that should be genetic. And the truth is, it's not. So by definition, you will grow up in this man's shadow because you are his offspring. Folk been watching you since you were born. And they will have genetic expectations of you. Expectations that you most likely will not be able to meet.
That can be devastating.
Yeah, but the real question is whether or not that becomes your reason for doing nothing.
Okay.
Just because you cannot outdo your father, does that become your excuse to underachieve?
Real talk, sir.
Your father had to become great at what he is. Every man should be striving for greatness.
Yes.
That doesn't mean you have to have your father's level of greatness, but every man should be striving for that. The real problem comes when you start giving yourself excuses for not doing it. And, I can't meet my father's standard. I can't be as big as he was at basketball. So then you see how weak you raised your son to be. Now you can see you broke him. As opposed to him saying, I have an obligation to honor my father, John David Washington. Instead, it becomes, I can't be as good as Dad was. So, man, look here, let me drink this up.
How do you see a Donald Trump as far as him coming from his father's legacy? How do you see the Forbes son, whose daddy had millions, but he kept it going? Do you see it in the same way? Were they productive or not? How do you see them as far as carrying their father's legacy on?
Well, you have it with the Trumps, you have it with the Murdochs. And what happens there is they've been raising, Donald Trump has been raising all of his children to take over from him. I'm telling you that there for a fact. He's raised all of his children, including the daughters, to take over from him. So he's not left at the chance. That was what his father taught him. You can read his books. The Apprentice isn't something he came up with guessing. He's like, this is the way we've lived here. The kids have to prove themselves. He's not going to just hand it to them. Rupert Murdoch. I talked about this before. There's a big ass fight happening with his kids right now. They're trying to take legal action right now because Rupert has made it clear which one of his sons he intends to put in charge now. He's getting too old to be doing anything, and he's made it clear who he intends to hand the reins to. Now, after all these years of the other kids fighting it out and slugging it out, and they're going to say that's not fair. Yes. But, as Pharaoh said in the movie The Ten Commandments, the future of Egypt is something I owe to my fathers, not my sons.
Tell the truth.
And that enterprise was handed to Rupert. He has an obligation to make sure it's in good hands to where he hands it to, because he was handed something great. How dare you spoil it? How dare you squander it? He has an obligation to make sure that this great thing that somebody gave to him continues. Donald Trump was given something great, by hook or by crook. He made it even bigger. He's taking it to heights that Fred never could have imagined.
Right.
His sons could very well follow in his steps in 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
You can see another Trump in the White House. His son, Eric, has already been hanging out with military dudes and sniping and other stuff. He's already doing that. He's already got respect among special forces soldiers. So it's very obvious to me that and he's been on Fox News a bunch of times, and he's got much better speaking chops than his father. It's very obvious to me that I would not be surprised if he has political ambitions. I would not be surprised if he does, and he's certainly being properly prepared for it. And he's just one. He's just one among several of them. So that's what you're supposed to do if you have something great. But it wasn't handed to them. He had to work for it. He had to fight for it. And if he got out there and made an ass of himself, the world was going to see it. And your dad wasn't going to jump in the way to save you. And that's one thing you understood. Donald's going to look out for Donald. So if you get given the ball and you fumble it, you're going to have to take all the laughing and ridicule. Dad's not going to try to step in and tell folks, okay, y'all stop dissing on him. You're going to have to carry that. And that's what you're supposed to do. Your children are supposed to see the gravity of the situation.
But in cases like with Mr. Murdoch, are you saying when it comes to your children, sometimes there may have to be a civil war in the family? And when he's at an advanced age, that the children may have to, it might have to have a clash to, if he say, this is my decision, they just going to have to live with it.
That's leadership. That's leadership.
Yes, sir.
Bottom line, that's leadership. Leadership is not about being liked.
That's what you said. That's true.
Leadership is not about being liked. It's about being respected. So don't say those words if you don't take it to heart.
Yes. And that's
okay. If we're going to hold on to News Corp, he's decided that this is the son who will be best suited to take over. The rest of y'all been here. This is the one I've chosen. Looks like the rest of the family's not going to necessarily fall in line. But then again, if you raised them to be competitive, what made you think that was going to stop? So here we go. But all things being equal, know when you're leading something, even in your own home, please be careful. A lot of folks say they want great things and they want wealth and stuff like that. Please understand there's a price to everything. There is a price to everything. You take a risk if you raise weak children. You take a risk if you raise strong ones.
Yes, you do.
You take a risk if you raise dunderheads who can't think. You take a risk if you raise free thinkers. You take a risk if you raise shy, recessive children. You take a risk if you raise bold, confident ones. You take a risk either way. One of them is a guaranteed disaster and a guaranteed embarrassment. The other, you're taking a risk, but if it turns out well, it'll be worth it.
Yes.
I'll let you have the last word.
Jason, are the weak children, are the unproductive children, that you're going to have some that's doing what they're supposed to, but the ones that haven't got it together yet, are they owed anything when as it relates to a man's legacy, as far as contributing, leaving them any type of authority or wealth or whatever? Do they, in your personal opinion?
The late Bruce Williams, the late talk show host Bruce Williams, I was a very avid listener of his. He was one of those people who had a very big air of credibility about him. So in the world of terrestrial radio, where there are a bunch of fakers and frauds out there, Bruce Williams is one of the few that I would consider to be reliable in that context. And he always had people who called him up and asked him, they had money, and they want to know, hey, I want to set up a trust fund for my kids, or, when they get 18 or 21 years old, I want this to be available for them. And Bruce would tell them, don't. Particularly if they were minors. He said, absolutely not if they're minors, but not if they're young either. And he said, the reason for this is because, he said, you don't know how your kids are going to turn out.
No, you don't.
He said, what if they develop a drug habit? It happens in the best of families. Especially with the schools today at war with the parents about who's going to teach them what they got your kids sitting up here trying to have orgies and LGBT fivesomes. So as soon as you're no. Terry McAuliffe, this last time he ran for governor of Virginia, y'all can go back and go take a look at that debate. He lost the governor's race to Governor Youngkin, the current governor of Virginia. But during the debates, why Terry McAuliffe had the gall to sit up there and say that the school, to say, he came out and outright said it. Y'all can go look that debate up. He outright said that the schools know better than the parents. Outright said it. That it was okay for the schools to do these things without the parents knowing because the schools know better than the parents. Now, that's the kind of outrageous, radical psychopaths you have running your government, running your school boards. That's who you got. That's who you have. And please remember that he was the worked with the DNC with the Clintons. So that's where Terry McAuliffe came from. So he took that to being governor. So with that being the case, that's what y'all got as far as influences out there. We didn't have Instagram and Snapchat and social media. Try finding a way to keep that away from your kids. You and I were there at the beginning, Prince, when the internet became the public internet and started. You remember, dude, they were putting in filters back then to try to keep pornography out the conversation, out of the search engines and stuff. How long did that last? About 5 seconds?
Racism and porno. Those were the two biggest things on the internet.
That built the public internet, was white supremacy and pornography. And what I'm saying is, you've never been able to keep them away from it. As soon as that thing went public, that was it. Everybody was circumventing the rules. You think you're going to keep your kids away from that now? The only way you can keep away from it is if you just keep them from having computers altogether. And when they go to school, God help you.
That's when I just felt like I was defeated. I said, hey, none of this right now, none of this. And I had all type of blocks. But as soon as my daughter went to school, they say, yes, you can talk to this through social media. I say, what the hell? What? So the school just, we prefer you to check everything through Facebook or Snapchat or what. I say, God, I'm trying to do it one way. And they just saying, opening up the floodgates.
Well, I mean, it goes even further. When you and I had a video game console, we had an Atari, we had a Nintendo. They couldn't go online. All the game consoles now can go online.
Yes.
So the only thing we can do with our gaming consoles is play video games.
That's it.
They can play video games, play DVDs, and do everything else. So what I'm saying is that they've got access to a whole bunch of things, avenues, temptations, influences that we didn't, and we don't even know how you would keep them away from it now, because it's literally everywhere. You got free Wi-Fi everywhere. You got folks who give your kids a cell phone. I mean, they got 5 or 6 extra ones. When they go upgrade to one, they'll give your kids one. That's not right that your dad, Prince, didn't give you a cell phone. How are you getting around today without a cell phone? Here, you can take my old one. Bam, there they go.
Out of my business.
Dude, I mean, you think it was bad when you and me were in school when folks wanted to sneak a smoke or sneak a drink? Okay, how about sneaking a cell phone? How about sneaking a cell phone?
That's a computer.
Well, what I'm saying is that you and me don't buy new cell phones every year. At least I hope you don't. I don't. But the rest of these folk buy a new cell phone every year. What they think of giving your kid one of their old ones is nothing.
Yes.
Nothing.
Corrupt your children. They want to expose. They're going to let the internet train your children. And when they're a hot mess, they're not responsible.
Oh, they're going to bail out. When things go bad, they won't be there. It'll be just you picking up the pieces and dealing with the mess. But Bruce Williams said, drug habits don't happen to the best of families. You have to be careful about that. You don't dump money on them. They need to be waited. They need to wait. And if it proves that they were never competent or able, do you give them enough resources to kill themselves? Because for every Charlie Sheen who gets strung out and eventually dries out, even if he's worse for wear, you've got, what, a dozen of them who overdosed and died?
Yes.
So do you sit up here and give somebody resources that they were never ready for? Ever? Or do you write off your losses? I'm of a mind that you write off your losses. If you gave them $10 million, they're a loose cannon. This is not going to end well because it can't. Maybe set up something for the grandkids. Hopefully you got something far along with that. But you don't give something to somebody who's not ready. That's why tonight's program is, if they didn't earn it, it's just going to destroy them.
Yes.
Because it has to. It has to.
Can I make one more statement, Jason? It was a young man who had been on drugs, and he was a mess up for most of his young life until he got in his 20s. His grandmother left him millions. This I saw. It was on a Saturday. That guy used to have a real good. He talked about finances, and the dad watched his son. His son had got off drugs and got his life together. He said, son, your grandmother left you this here. It's about $4 to $10 million. And he said, you're going to have to start being responsible for it. And he was calling his finance guy because he was totally in fear. He was fearful of going back on the drugs. He was fearful of having access to this. What could he do to invest it to protect his funds from himself? I thought that was an amazing situation, but he really wanted to do the right thing. But he said, in the past, I didn't have a track record of doing the right thing,
Well, it's great if you're a screw up, but you have the presence of mind that you're screwed up and it's time to straighten out. That's great if you can. That's great if you can. But if I'm overseeing this, what do I put my money on? Where do I put my investment in? What do we do? So with that being the case, if it's me, like I said, I'm not going to give somebody something that they're not ready for. This will just end badly. I would much rather that they do without it. Maybe them seeing something that they don't have and don't have access to, maybe that will give them a swift kick in the rump enough to be able to make some corrections. All I know is that you giving somebody too much for too long who's not ready for it, that's not going to end well at all. You're going to enable them to destroy themselves or to squander what you've given them. Is that what you wanted? Well, Jason, let them go out with a bang. Is that what you wanted?
No.
So I'm a firm believer. If they're not ready now, let them starve, and maybe they'll get enough of an appetite to get ready. And maybe they'll course correct. And if not them, well, we'll see if the grandkids are ready. We'll see if they'll do it. But did you really do all that work and everything just to squander it? If you didn't do it yourself, you gave it to somebody else to squander it. It's like that to me, that's the definition of a waste. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. That can sound a little harsh, but it's not meant to be nice. It's meant to be truthful. If somebody is not ready, they're not ready. Enabling someone who's not ready will only destroy them. We've all been sitting back now. We've been watching Marcus Jordan. Now you're seeing as he's gotten into, now he's dealing with 2 white girls now. What? Yeah, y'all thought it was bad when he was just with Larsa Pippen. Y'all thought it was bad when he was just with Larsa Pippen. Now y'all see he's got 2 or 3 white girls on deck. One of them gonna take all of his money. The other one might take more than just his money. And this should serve as a cautionary tale. And if you don't take life seriously, that doesn't mean it's not going to take you. To the men out there listening, a lot of you have become so desperate that your money doesn't mean anything. Looking for an easy dollar, a quick buck, or you have been working and the money still doesn't mean anything to you. Please understand, all that can do is destroy you. All that can do is destroy you. And believe me, there's plenty of folks who would like to see that happen to you. I want to thank everyone who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo. Shout out here to Harbor Lights. Jason, thank you. I was a 49-year-old man. I'm so happy to have a man of your stature teaching the young men the game and the young women how to separate themselves in order to be chosen as a wife. The tutelage you're providing is priceless. Thank you very much for your support. We appreciate that. LDBC, you're nothing. As a new member, Wayne Richards, new member, thank you very much there as well. Logic Before Emotion and everybody else, thank you very much for chipping in on tonight's program. And take this as a life lesson, folks. Take this as a life lesson. For those of you who watched Michael Jordan growing up and wondered how the story was going to end, unfortunately, you may be seeing how the story is going to end, or at the very least, it very clearly appears that the empire is falling and that the legacy is over. Then again, who knows? Maybe Michael will cut his son off completely and show him that you're going to have to lump it on your own. And maybe after a few years of struggling and seeing that these people mean him no good and that he's not going to get bailed out, which is the real problem, maybe if his father shows him he's not going to bail him out and he's not going to keep enabling him, maybe that'll be enough of a shock to the system to wake him up and get him to alter some things. I can tell you right now, it doesn't look good. His life has been too easy for too long. And now it's going to destroy him. We're going to go ahead and wrap up tonight's program. If you are new here to the business, welcome to the program that all your favorite YouTubers love to hate watch. Click that red subscribe button. Click that yellow notification bell. Join us each and every time that we're here. If you haven't been to our Patreon, the link is in the description. You're definitely going to want to join that as well. Got a few things I'm working on specifically for Patreon. Another workshop coming up here in a little while. So you might want to be a part of that. You cannot say you weren't warned. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to tonight's program. Thank you for watching live or recorded. Thank you for contributing. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and sharing. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of The Business. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, Mr. Jason Black. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, handle your business or your business will handle you.